Let me tell you this story, which I find scary, funny, and moronically amazing when I was talking to chemists when I was in the extraction business. You talk to one group of chemists, and they were able to extract a certain amount of THC from trim. The yield wouldn't be that great. Yet, you'd talk to another group of chemists, and they were able to extract a tremendously large amount of THC from the same quality trim. So I would ask them, hey, what are you guys doing that these guys are not? And they would say, well, we're just soaking the product longer, whether it's hydrocarbons like butane, whether it's alcohol, or whether it's CO2 extractions, and many CO2 extractions also use alcohol. We just soak the product longer. The longer you soak it, the more THC you get out of the trim. And I said, well, hell, that makes sense. And they said, obviously, the longer you soak it, the more plant components you're going to get out as well. But then that's where you have extraction, and then you have refinement. I go, hey, I get that. So let's use some simple numbers so you can understand how unbelievably scary this is when we're talking about men or women dealing with things that are flammable or explosive. We would get trim, and let's just say the trim would have 3% THC. Again, it's going to vary based on where you got it, where it came off the plant, and all that stuff. But remember, marijuana in the 1970s had 1% THC, and in the 90s it had 3% THC. And those are statistics according to the FBI. So now I would engage these chemists, and I said, okay, we got about 3% THC in this trim. Are we going to be able to extract 100% of that THC? And they're like, well, no, it's only 3%. And I go, yeah, I know there's 3% in the trim, but we should be able to extract out all of that THC, making it 100%. And they would look at me like I was crazy. And then I would say, okay, then we take that THC that we extracted out, and it's probably got plant material in it, and then we're going to refine it and probably try to ramp up the potency to 80 or 85%, right? And they would go, how are we going to make 85% THC if the trim only has 3% THC? And I'm like, this is simple math. This is simple percentages. You guys are dealing with stuff that is explosive and is flammable, and you don't understand the concept of being able to extract 100% of something, 3% of the THC that's in the trim. You don't get that concept, and once we extract out all 3%, we will have extracted 100% of the THC that was in the trim. And then we're going to take that and refine it down to 85%. Yes, we're going to refine it. So now it's actually a smaller number that occurs during the refining process, because the 100% THC will probably have some additional plant materials, but we were able to capture it. They couldn't understand that. So then I would have to explain it like this. Okay, we have a jar full of nickels. It's got 98 nickels in it, and it's got 2 pennies in it. It's 2% copper or 2% pennies. But if we reach into that jar and we grab both the pennies, we will have grabbed 100% of all the pennies. Do you get that? And they would be like, yeah, but how are we going to get 100% of the THC out of the trim when it's only 3%? I was like, and I thought politicians were stupid.